Welcome to The Holistic Nurse with your host, Peggy Smith. Peggy will introduce and educate her viewers about the differences between alternative, holistic, and complementary medical therapies. Her goal is to empower the lay medical consumer to learn how to advocate for themselves. So now, please welcome the host of The Holistic Nurse, Peggy Smith.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of The Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith. I am Peggy Smith, and this week our guest will be Dr. Gloria Warren, and we'll be exploring hypnosis, neuroplasticity, and the mind body connection. All terms that we've had on previous shows. We're going to show how they're all connected and how they can effectively and relatively inexpensively even help us improve our health. Um, this program is just for general education. It does not diagnose or treat, but we have a lot of good ideas that can improve your life and just make life a lot simpler. Sometimes we make things too complicated. So I'd like to welcome Dr. Gloria Warren today. And Gloria is joining us to contribute to her scientific knowledge and the quantum-based topics we're going to be talking about. Hi, Gloria. How are you today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be a good show. I just know it, especially with
So,
you knowing all the hypnosis.
well, we've done other shows together on the quantum topics and perspectives, and I think our combined knowledge will make this a very good show. So please, if you're when you're watching this and it resonates with you, please like and subscribe and share this with other people who can benefit from this knowledge. And as we
Mhm.
begin, Gloria, can thoughts really make our body change? Change conditions that we have. I mean, some
Oh,
people feel we
absolutely.
got what we got. We're
Yeah,
addicted to our
absolutely.
genes. So,
Yep.
uh,
So throughout the show, I believe we're going to be talking a little bit about the placebo effect. That is, could be one reason why hypnosis may or may not work for somebody. So, I mean, if I think, this is not going to work, this is not going to work, and then it doesn't work. See, I told you it didn't work.
right, you're
Well, that's
setting
also
yourself
the
up.
placebo effect. Yeah. So,
Well, I think
we'll
it's
be bringing
also
it up.
setting up. You're setting up negative neuropeptides that we've talked about in the past.
Right, right.
And there was
Yes.
a little children's book written about the little train that could, and
Mm.
um, the
Yeah,
expression "can't never could." So I think we're going to show that we can, and it's not that complicated.
right.
So what actually is consciousness, and how does that um I mean, how do you know that we're really conscious? It's not a definition that's one size fits all. Most of us go through day to day and we didn't even realize, oh my gosh, it's 5 o'clock now, I haven't even thought about what I'm cooking for dinner. uh,
Right. Consciousness, though, it's really, although it sounds familiar, we hear about it all the time. It's difficult to define. And I think every different science may define it in slightly different ways. So, what do we mean by it today? Well, for this discussion, consciousness means the capacity to have a subjective experience, awareness of sensation, thoughts, emotions, memories, and the surrounding world. It includes what we notice, what we focus upon, and our sense that these experiences are happening to us. Scientists can study the brain activity associated with conscious states, EEG and things like that. But deeper question of why brain activity produces subjective experience remains unresolved. So consciousness is broader than simply thinking, right?
well, what comes to mind, we've done shows in the past on mindfulness, and teaching people the exercises um, to be mindful. And you know people think sometimes that those exercises are specific to actually noticing what the sour lemon tastes like, you know.
Yeah,
And sometimes we learn skills and we say, wow, that really works, that's a really cool thing to do, and then we go about our life and our habits that we have, and we're not any more aware than we were before we took the course on mindfulness. um,
right. So
so it sounds
consciousness
familiar.
can include that. Yeah, the bodily sensation of taste. an emotion not yet put into words, a feeling of familiarity. You don't have to have a cognitive knowing to show that you're conscious. Your brain can react in the background and it shows consciousness. And sudden intuitive impression. Oh, wait a minute. I don't like this. I have a bad feeling or something. Or simply just the awareness of breathing and knowing that you're breathing rather than breathing subconsciously. We also process vast amounts of information outside of the conscious awareness, in other words. So the brain filters, predicts, prioritizes, interprets before a person deliberately decides that something means something. So that matters in hypnosis because we deliberately narrow our attention. So,
So, and what came to mind as you were speaking, especially with the breathing, um, breathing is kind of a funny concept. Obviously, we all need to keep breathing, and we don't realize how effective it is. But we can be in the middle of a common panic attack, and panic attacks really are more common. People don't always label it that, but
mm-hmm.
get to the parking lot. For instance, yesterday I was only in the grocery store 5 minutes and couldn't find my car, and I'm like, how can I lose my car so fast? And or the times you try to open a car that looks like yours and the alarm goes off and you feel really dumb. And but is that a matter
Yeah.
of lack of awareness, or are we so busy thinking that our mind is cluttered?
I think with you, Peggy, it's lack of sleep. But um, hypnosis is not unconsciousness, though, and it is not ordinary sleep. So the American Psychological Association describes it as a state of consciousness involving focused attention, reduced peripheral awareness, and an enhanced capacity to respond to suggestion. So a person can be deeply absorbed while still hearing, thinking, evaluating, and retaining their senses. You know, I think that goes back your breathing. It reminded me of a story of this woman named Eleanor. She was 108 years old, and they asked her on David Letterman show, "What is your key to longevity?" And she said, "Keep breathing." It was just so funny because she made breathing a conscious matter, not a subconscious matter. So it was just so funny. Everyone laughed. Um, anyway, so yeah, you are experience is just a slip of mind because exhaustion brings on a state of not being aware of everything. So you weren't aware when you parked the car. You didn't say, okay, what pole number is that? And what aisle is it or something? You didn't make it a on purpose. You did not figure out exactly where you were before you went in. So your subconscious just let it go because it can't retain as much when you're tired. But like in hypnosis, I'm sure you could probably explain this better than I can. It's like they are semi out of their conscious mind, but they have all of their cognitive abilities. So they hear everything and they can think and evaluate what you're saying. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong. So it's more or less they have choices as well. So
Well, we
yeah,
always have choices, and no matter what we're talking about, I'll
yeah.
bring that up. But I view hypnosis as not something that I do to my clients. I teach self hypnosis skills. And when we're busy running around like a chicken with our head cut off, we're not focused on anything in particular and nothing altogether, usually. Uh, Hypnosis begins by setting up a very relaxed state of mind. I teach people how
Mhm.
to, with progressive relaxation skills and similar ideas like that. When you get better at that, when you practice it, and when you're very relaxed deliberately. You come to the session because you want to stop smoking or lose weight. You have a particular issue that you've already told your mind, we need to do this, or we want to do this. Um,
Mhm.
but you've got so much clutter. Maybe you had a road rage incident on the way to the office, and all these other things going on at once. Uh, it's actually possible when you practice progressive relaxation and intentional focus and mindfulness that just like with the snap of
Right.
your fingers, you can bring yourself to a state like, okay, mind, we're ready to learn something new now, and we have to pay attention because we need to stop smoking. We can't afford it anymore. You know, and the mind does want to please. Um, so for simple things like that, if you get on the same page, you can't tell your mind we want to lose weight and then ask your mind what flavor ice cream should we eat now. And
Shame on
uh,
you. Get to those power of words later. Right.
well, it's mixed
Not
messages, and we give
right.
ourselves mixed messages all the time, and externally we receive mixed messages. Uh,
Hmm.
and that's
Accentuated. Hmm.
so. But I recently was on a program with you, Gloria, and we were talking about some of the quantum consciousnesses and the biology of that. In a quick nutshell, maybe can you sum that up? What we were talking about the other day?
I've done so many shows since then, but quantum consciousness, the word quantum, it's not this miraculous word like people think it is. So it basically, their quantum consciousness is just being conscious, and you can get, I'd use quantum consciousness to receive messages like from the, um, God, my brain is just not working on that. Receive messages from a different dimension, or just kind of get the hint of something, intuition, some things like that. I mean, they can call that quantum consciousness, and pretty much that's the way it's mostly used with people nowadays. Animals, I think, actually can tap into that. They are very intuitive sometimes, or especially the service dog here. She stares at me sometimes. I'm like, why are you not moving? Why are you staring at me? I'm like, oh yeah, my blood sugar's too low, you know? So, and sure enough, it's too low. So I'll get something to eat. But I just have low blood sugar, and she catches it before I even notice the symptoms. But my
Yeah,
mind is on some other things. It's hyper vigilant on other things in my life. So I don't actually notice that. Just the opposite of, say, when hypnosis happens, you can kind of just focus on something, one particular thing. And then hypervigilance, though, can be used um, in a bad sense, because if you focus on the pain, let's say my sore ankle or something, and you're hypervigilant because it hurts, so you keep thinking about it and keep thinking about it. Well, I know that hypnosis may actually help with that situation, because it'll teach you and help you train your brain not to keep thinking of the pain, but thinking of other things, and to the point where you may not even notice that pain from time to time. I mean, it's helped with me many times in my life, even Lamaze giving birth. I mean, that's what that is. It's self hypnosis, and focusing your attention hypervigilantly on something else so you don't notice the pain as much. It does work if people want to give it a chance and really are dedicated to wanting to do it. And sometimes there is a placebo effect, but many times that's to your benefit. So why question it?
Well, I think a lot of times expectations, those before, during the sessions, and after, have a lot to do. And many times you might go home and feel you're not going to feel any different. There's no reason maybe to feel
Hmm.
more relaxed. But a few days later, even a week later, all of a sudden your brain reminds you of something that you heard, were assimilating during the hypnosis session. And with respect to the quantum, most of our energy uh, therapies kind of based on that. Which basically we discovered neuromodulation technique, for instance, which is a later generation of the original emotional freedom technique, tapping and things like that. It not only works, like it can actually eliminate for some people years and years of psychoanalysis, things like that, because you don't need to know why you're having this issue. You just need to know that or recognize that it's interfering with what you want to do in your present day life, and it's not helping. Um, and so that's, we'll explain a little bit more how that goes right after we take a break. But it's a really neat topic, and it's not as scary or intimidating as it seems sometimes to people. We'll be right back.
What if there were a super tiny device that could diagnose the brain and is smaller than a single human hair? What if you could see inside the brain to help an epilepsy patient during surgery, or to help the fight against Parkinson's disease? Dr. Patricia Broderick is proud to announce the Broderick Probe, a biomedical and electronic breakthrough. Imagine a probe to help with the understanding and potential cure of brain-related diseases. To learn more, listen live to the Easy Sense radio show with host Dr. Broderick. And to help support the Broderick Foundation, please go to EasySense.com and learn how, with your help, we can fight these horrific brain disorders. That's EasySense.com to learn more and help support the Broderick Foundation. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals.
Hi, welcome back to The Holistic Nurse with myself, Peggy Smith, and Dr. Gloria Warren. And we're talking about how thoughts and emotions communicate with our nervous, endocrine, and immune systems, and how we can uh, actually create a scenario and thoughts that create healthier peptides. We've talked about peptides on previous shows. Um, so, how does the mind communicate with the body? Is it physiologically? Is it, there must be a little bit of everything, I guess. Physiological,
Well,
electric.
let me use the example of when your mind perceives danger, and I won't say it. Anyways, the brain
Somehow I
evaluates.
think of Lost in Space and the robot. Danger,
I'm
danger.
sorry.
That's okay.
Latchkey kid. What can I say? So the brain evaluates threats and coordinates a response through the autonomic nervous system, and then the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, often shortened to HPA. Adrenaline can increase the heart rate. That's what happens. It increases the heart rate, blood pressure, and readiness for action. And then cortisol gets involved and mobilizes energy and regulates many systems. So there's like a waterfall effect, is what I would term it. So these responses are protective in the short term. Difficulty arises when threat signaling becomes frequent, prolonged, or poorly resolved, which means a thought can become a biological event. And yes, especially when the thought is interpreted as meaningful or threatening. So remembering an argument may tighten muscles, accelerate the heart rate, even though the event is no longer occurring. You can get trapped into a system with a high
Cycle,
cortisol
yes.
level. And you could probably even tell more about what the high cortisol level does.
Well, certainly it affects, your heart, kidney, blood pressure, all your essential
Mhm.
bodily functions. And what I thought of there when recently, if you go to a store, say late at night, you're aware, you look at the parking lot, make sure you're safe and everything. Um, or you should be at least. That could be a potential dangerous situation. So you always try to park in a well lit place. And I had an experience because my mind was thinking of all the things I was going to do when I get home recently. Um, I did check out the parking lot, everything else. I was standing not even 3 feet away from two robbers who were about to enter the store. Uh, and I didn't actually see them hold up the cashier who was right around the corner for the store, but they saw me because I was on the phone, and my alarms were like, well, they look a little shady. Better make sure my car's locked. I didn't register this could be dangerous. It's like, oh, make sure my car's locked. I didn't think completely there.
Yeah.
And then as I'm walking into the store, they're pushing me out, and sorry about that. And it shows that the mind does not always think things, but in a real dangerous situation, if you smell fire or something like that, you hopefully you wake up quickly enough and your smoke detectors are working. You're kind of prepared ahead of time for the common dangers. Um, but it's you have a history of maybe childhood trauma, and there were certain
Mhm.
situations that were very painful, physically, emotionally, whatever. Um, some children maybe used to make themselves throw up to avoid a situation, or kids that don't want to go to school, all of a sudden they wake up, oh, mommy, my throat hurts. I have, and they don't
Mhm.
have a fever. And I remember telling one of my kids once, well, go to school. If you're really sick, the school nurse will send you home.
So,
And yeah, never mind. I was
I
a
could
nurse
see
then.
you doing that because you had to
And
work,
then
you know.
the nurse calls me a half hour later. Did you know that your son has 104 fever? And gee, he was fine when he left a half hour ago. But
Yeah,
that was my consciousness wanting to get on with my day, go to work, and not deal with that, um, and of course, I'll be right there to pick them up, as I'm thinking, oh, this is so embarrassing, your mind is working on so many different levels, but as parents, even sometimes we're so used to um, the excuses and games that we knew that we did when we were a kid that you just assume maybe your kid's doing the
yeah.
same thing. I remember one of my boys said to me, "Well, how did you know I was doing something wrong?" And I said, "Because I was a kid." You know, um,
I
but
was a
all of
kid
that is,
once.
your mind stores everything in your memory back from
Mhm.
even birth. Past life regression situations can take you all the way back to uh, almost the birth experience for some people, even beyond that. Um, so when you're trying to evaluate your present day situation, it's a little tricky sometimes to and you can't always be second guessing yourself. That's why we talked in other shows about following your gut when it comes to your health. And if you're working with a practitioner that maybe you just don't resonate with, it doesn't mean that they're wrong and you're right. It just might mean they're not the right person to work with you at that time. And
Right.
that works with non-traditional and the traditional medical practitioners. I mean,
Right.
there's
And
a
when you talk about stress, though, I know for a fact that you could help people with stress because that's what hypnosis, you can get them to so their body doesn't react or they won't react as fast as stress. Because, just saying stress hurts your immune system. Well, how, So, but that's a really complex uh, scenario. Short-term stress and temporarily mobilize aspects of immune function while chronic stress may dysregulate inflammatory and immune processes and responses. I get swollen sometimes because I'm under too much stress. So I know I'm swelling up. So I know I need to get my cortisol down. So I work on that. But the
even
effects
things like
differ.
psoriasis and that is an autoimmune situation. Most
Hmm.
autoimmune illnesses do exacerbate with stress. You might have asthma under control for years, and then you're in a very stressful situation, going through maybe a relationship breakup or lost your job or whatever, and you start being in that high cortisol, constant panic mode. What am I going to do? How am I going to pay my mortgage? And um,
Right.
things like that. And it's it's not that you're deliberately trying to mess up your life. I mean, events happen all the time that aren't totally within our control. Um, but sometimes the old grandmother's message, that when one door closes, another one opens. Sometimes when you're so stressed, you don't want to hear anything like that. You're just like, I don't want to. You scream at whoever's trying to suggest that to you. Um, but if you learn how to say, okay, this isn't a good situation, let's take some deep breaths, let's focus. What options do I have? And it's just
Yeah.
like the gratitude philosophies. You might be really struggling with depression or stress or something and thinking everything is hopeless. But if you take 5 minutes and some few deep breaths and can write down even three things that for which you can be grateful, you realize that it's not totally hopeless. And now it's time to keep breathing and come up with plan B. And some of
Yeah.
these people, they're so organized, and their lives seem to work so well on the surface. They've always got plan B, C, D, all the way to Z for any scenario. Um,
Yeah.
but
Depends
all
on
of
their
this.
activities, how many they have. So,
So,
sorry.
but it seems that like the book When Bad Things Happen to Good People that came out,
Hmm.
decades ago. It's all about, and look at Anne Frank's life, people, famous people like that. We've read books, they were in horrible situations, but internally they were in total, Viktor Frankl, um, they were able to, in terrible situations that they were totally out of control with, on their
Yeah.
own, they discovered, or higher power taught them, that just keep breathing and keep focused on, the other side of this. We will get through the other side of this. Um, and it's not, for some people, it's a religious experience. Other people, it's a human experience, really, for everybody. And that's why those books were classics. Um, Fortunately, at least at this point in history, we don't have the camps and everything we had in the past, but we have other types of dangers and uncomfortable situations. And the lessons that they were teaching us through their experience still apply in our modern day.
Hmm.
Um,
All within the mind body connection, though. What they go through, how their body reacts. And I mean, it's just so connected. I mean,
uh,
that makes me think about the placebo effect, um, as
a lot of
as a,
people with the placebo effect, they feel like, okay, I don't know if I got the sugar pill or the real pill,
hmm.
but why does it have to be a pill? It doesn't always have to be a pill. Sometimes, yes, pills are necessary. I have a medical license. I'm going to say there are a lot of good
Yeah,
medications out there. But certainly, as it's harder and harder to access medical care for non-emergent situations, if you have in your little toolbox a set of skills to help you relax, to help you see the whole picture, not just, the minute. Like sometimes you don't realize you're panicking until you're looking for a bathroom because your gut is telling you that, we need to go to the bathroom because this is too stressful for us. That's one of the
yeah,
effects physiologically that stress causes. Um, there's just, we can go into, we all know, all of us humans know how we act to stress. Um, and when you learn the skills, though, to get you through those stressful moments, uh, you don't have to feel silly about it. Feel empowered. You actually took your life in your own hands, and realize, you look back, especially our age, Gloria, of all the days and hours and minutes we've wasted panicking about things that were really minute specks in the universe. Uh,
hmm,
didn't have to get so upset about them, and life happened anyway, and we came out of it. You know, more knowledgeable, perhaps more experienced and more healthy, but we spent a lot of time stressing ourselves out over things that, if we could have had a
right.
little bell in our heads go ding. And hypnosis sometimes can set that little bell, like when you reach a situation that normally says reach for a cigarette, when you've been practicing the skills of mindfulness and assimilating what you learned in a hypnosis situation, your mind can say, wait a minute, you don't need that anymore. Maybe you needed it in the past, but now we're going to get a glass of water or take a walk. Uh, there's alternatives that we suggest to people in hypnosis. Um,
Right.
and it's hard to get pain management nowadays. I understand there's a new non-opioid drug that is being pushed strongly by the pharmaceutical industries. uh, my personal opinion is, we have to have so many TV commercials about it. I'm going to really be, careful before I consider something like that. But you can actually reset your pain threshold. When you were talking about, the pain is there, but not quite the same. Hypnosis teaches you to reset the pain threshold, so the pain doesn't
Mm.
change, but the way you experience it changes. And
Mind's a
we'll be right
powerful
back.
thing.
The mind is a
Yeah.
very powerful thing.
Yeah.
We'll be
And
right back.
placebo's not necessarily fake.
Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, Belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
So welcome back to the Holistic Nurse. Dr. Gloria Warren and we're discussing mind-body practices, specifically today how hypnosis is a mind-body practice, and a lot of times we don't really look at it that way. So Gloria, since it's not what you do professionally, from a lay perspective, what do you feel that hypnosis is, and some of the
Well,
misconceptions maybe you've heard?
right. Well, in epidemiology, we're taught that hypnosis can actually be used to calm the masses, if there's an epidemic and make them feel good about everything that's being done for them. So hypnosis defined would be it is a structured process that uses focused attention, reduced distraction imagery, expectation and suggestion to support an agreed upon goal. It may feel deeply relaxed, but relaxation is not necessarily mandatory. I know that sounds strange, but a person can remain alert, hear every word, remember the experience, and decide whether a suggestion fits. This is kind of what they do with hypnosis of the masses when there is a pandemic of sorts. So people sometimes worry that they'll reveal something but that's not part of that in a mass type situation. But what you do, Peggy, it is person to person. And would they actually have a right to be worried or a reason to be worried about, giving up secrets or becoming controlled?
No, it's not. And I stress very strongly that I'm not doing something to you. I'm not trying to control your mind. And the fallacies, misconceptions of, hypnotists can make you cluck like a chicken, or, you know,
Yeah.
do something criminal, or, that you normally in your own moral code would never even consider doing. It's absolutely not true. Um, Years ago, many years before I even considered hypnosis as a practice for myself, I took part in a group past life regression experience. And the practitioner began with, this is going to be different for everybody. But if at any point in the process you feel uncomfortable, danger, or anything, your mind can stop it immediately and you can leave. No harm's going to be done. What you've heard, what you've turned away is not going to be haunting you forever. Um, I was in the situation because I had been adopted, and at that point in my life did not know anything about my birth family. I actually had a very productive experience to the point where I I was a toddler in a steel oxygen tent in a hospital. As a nurse, I
Mm.
recognized it as a hospital scene, but as the person searching for answers, I kind of freaked out and I stopped the process and left. Years later, I learned that I had been hospitalized many times as a child with croup and asthma type things, and that's as far as I got. Um, so it is real, but there's a lot of concern that your mind wants to please, no matter what your situation is. Your mind doesn't want you to
Mm.
stay in negative, thoughts, because it's not healthy. The cortisol and everything you were talking about. If somebody is using, and some of them are very helpful, self hypnosis on YouTube or apps that are very good. Um, they always start off with do not listen while you're operating machinery or driving a car because it kind of takes you sometimes to relax that, too relaxed to be driving a car safely, say. Uh,
Right.
and when I'm working with somebody, people wonder often whether it can be effective virtually because since everybody started working from home and doing things Zoom, like that, a lot of hypnotists practice only virtually these days. And yes, evidence-based research does show that it can be just as effective. Um, and and you have full control over the situation. For some people, it's even more comfortable as the client because you're not feeling totally vulnerable and exposed because you're in your own space. It's some therapists will use Zoom. I use a medical platform called DocsyMe. It's what the therapists and medical people use. It's HIPAA compliant, but it's completely safe and you still have control. Um, and but before the process starts, you don't just pick up the phone and talk to a stranger. There's usually an introductory, either an intake form, a
Mhm.
history and physical. You have a phone call where you discuss what your goals and purpose of the session would be, and so you've already got a sense that, you can or not relate to the person you're going to be working with. And you have a sense of confidence that, you are going to be in control, that this could be beneficial. Some people decide, no, I'm not ready to do this after all, and that's okay too. There's no judgment, uh, whether it's in person or not. But it's just one of many tools that are out there to help you have control over and improve your life. And most of us don't have the health insurance that lets us go to psychoanalysis for 50 years. Um, so hypnosis can kind of be a hack, sort of, if you have a serious mental health problem, though, you do need to be with a professional mental health practitioner who can identify and keep you protected and safe and, should things get triggered and, you know,
Yeah.
but go ahead, Gloria.
I see it, you at least that's nice that you told us on how you start a session by conversing and getting to know the person and the medical and all of that. Um, I see the whole thing as I would see a hypnotist like yourself because I may be lost at what I can do. What can I do? I have no clue. So maybe I just need to see you or another hypnosis, one of the choice, but to give me ideas of what I can do and maybe then apply one of those ideas. And like hypnotism is one of those wonderful ideas that can help you walk it through in your own mind and give you options in your mind to know what to do when you're feeling pain or when you're restless or when you get anxiety or whatever the case may be. I mean, that's kind of what I get out of thinking about hypnotism.
Well, like we
So
mentioned, the Lamaze thing, I'm not even sure whether they're still calling it Lamaze. I think it's, uh,
I think,
expanded
no.
much more theories. But, you learn then that to focus on a spot on the wall. And, while you're focused, you're not thinking about, the horrible labor pains that you're having. But you're remembering because when you focus, you learn skills of breathing techniques.
Counting
Um,
too. Yeah.
and because I'm a medical professional, in that initial conversation I have with the client, a lot of times I can identify they might think that they're falling apart and going crazy. And when I hear what medications they're on and the times they take it, etc., I understand might just be a side effect of the medication. And that doesn't mean I'm going to tell you to
Hmm.
stop the medication, but I will tell you to talk to your provider, talk about maybe changing the times of day that you take it. I mean, even food, some people have major anxiety attacks 2 hours after they eat lunch. They don't realize they're eating something at lunch every day that triggers that. And it's a physiological
Oh,
response.
yeah.
And
That's,
emotionally, all of a
yeah.
sudden, you've got a big speech to talk in front of a board meeting, and you don't have time to be running to the bathroom. Um, but
Hmm.
you know, you might learn through hypnosis that, okay, on important days like that, you don't want to eat a heavy meal that, might cause that physiological reaction. But when you're having that
Don't slam
reaction,
down 3 or 4 beers thinking that you're gonna sit there during a meeting all day and not have to use the bathroom.
or
Sorry,
fall
I'm
asleep,
just
that would,
throwing that out there.
but hypnosis just can help you as it increases your awareness for the specific problem. And I don't use pre-prepared scripts. One size does not fit all. After taking my personal history, I actually create something that is specific to their lifestyle habits and how they are going to deal with the stopping smoking, other addictions, other stress. And a lot of times, if you can, uh, well, I almost always combine stress with any hypnosis situation we're talking about because the problem is causing you stress. And if you can control the stress, you realize you're strong enough to also deal with the problem objectively.
Mhm.
And it's not always in your mind. A lot of people are afraid it's just in my mind. I'm going crazy. I'm not really sick. I don't have a problem. And so what if it is in your mind? I can still teach you ways to, again, control your stress. That seems to be the basic building block of successful relationships in this, practice.
What about using AI for hypnosis? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm glad you mentioned that. Many people are turning to AI to replace therapists and other practitioners. AI can be helpful, suggesting ideas, practical things. I've noticed that must have had lawyers write the AI programs because when it's related to medical or even hypnosis, if I ask a
Yeah.
hypnosis related question, AI will tell me only a professional practitioner of this should be having this conversation.
Hmm.
If you're a layperson with no experience, please seek out the help of a professional. And it makes me laugh. The lawyers get a little bit of everything in every area of our life. But
Yeah.
in this case, though, AI, if you're using AI for anything, you should always ask AI where the resource is and then check the resources.
I
Um,
know with
and
medical, even that doesn't help. There's a lot of misinformation with medical. And this can be a problem, but if you want to go like first try and just see what it gives you, that's great. But don't take it as gold. A lot of that information is incorrect. So, and I can understand you wanting to do it for hypnosis, but it's not like you can go online and get a hip unless it's somebody like you, Peggy. You work online, but AI itself, I wouldn't want AI to hypnotize me. I think there's already enough of that going on. So
I know
I
that
would
there are
stand clear.
AI generated scripts for hypnosis. I am not aware of any AI actually verbally walking you through the process, but might be because I don't talk to AI when I use it. I use it as like a advanced encyclopedia type tool, not to give away my age. I know younger people won't even know what the encyclopedia was. Um, but yeah, it's very important that, especially if you're asking AI for options for a very serious medical problem, you can take your information with a family member that's going to help you sort things out at the doctor's appointment and ask, what do you think of these ideas? Is this something that's reasonable for me with my situation? And hopefully your specialist will have a lot other evidence-based practice medical things. I mean, there's something to be said for faith-based healing, and I'm certainly not knocking it. I've seen situations where faith did heal somebody. But
Mhm.
I had a patient once who refused to get treatment for cancer until I took her to a doctor and she listened and she said, "Well, thank you, but I'll take my healing from my higher power." And he looked her straight in the face and said, "I thank that higher power every day for putting me here in front of people like you so that I can, use the skills
Wonderful.
he allowed me to learn." And, I was impressed. I referred a lot of other people to him after that. But
Yep.
you're not alone if that's what you're thinking, and there's nothing wrong with having faith as a adjunctive therapy even.
Just
You
a
know, we
just a quick note here. I did check with AI. It says AI, yes, I can help create a hypnosis or guided relaxation script by organizing calming language, breathing cues, imagery, positive suggestions, and gradual return to full alertness. However, as an AI generated script, it should be reviewed by a qualified hypnotherapist or healthcare professional, especially when it addresses trauma, mental illness, chronic pain, addiction, and so forth. So
right,
you're absolutely spot on with that.
yeah.
That's
So,
you still need the professional behind the scenes.
but you
Sometimes
need
even
to give
AI is
yourself
incorrect.
some credit though to understand that your innate being on this planet equipped you with a very
Mhm.
strong mind-body connection. That's why when you get anxious, sometimes your physiological functions are less, a problem. We'll be right back, our final section, and we'll continue this briefly. Thank you.
Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness: Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Did you know that your beliefs create your entire reality, but it's the subconscious beliefs that do most of the creating? Belief shifter and life coach Shiraz can help you identify those limiting beliefs and eliminate them, often in a single session.
Like it was almost instant. Like I had relief right away.
Creating better health, relationships, careers, and finances. Let Shiraz help you step out of safety and into awareness.
Definitely something's happening. It's like a flow inside. It feels good.
Whether in person or online, Shiraz provides personal coaching, belief shifting. Visit Shiraz at energeticmagic.com or call 416-529-7429. Energetic Magic. Find your greater happiness. Be well. Be aware. Be magical.
Hi, welcome back to our final section about hypnosis and the mind-body connection. Gloria, let's just summarize some of the common myths and
Yeah.
expectations that people have.
So let's put you through a rapid fire myth check. I want to see your responses here. So, number 1, is hypnosis sleep?
No, hypnosis is not sleep. It's just an enhanced state of relaxation that allows you to focus on whatever brought you to the session to begin with.
Okay. Well, that makes a lot of sense, and I'm sure that can calm a lot of people's nerves and mind regarding
Well, some
hypnosis.
people wonder that if it was as simple as, the suggestions eliminated the problem,
Mhm.
was the problem imaginary, psychosomatic or whatever.
And even
And
the
no,
placebo effect still is in effect.
I,
Sorry.
but still the placebo effect, is part of the mind-body connection trying to heal.
Mhm.
Real symptoms can be influenced by intention. Um, I remember one of my kids coming home with a skin knee, and he's crying, and I said, "Oh, do it again. I missed that." He starts laughing. Well, I distracted him. That's kind of a hypnotic technique. Hypnosis does not cure any disease, and neither do any of the alternative modalities that we talk on these shows, both of our platforms, I think. But they do support traditional medical care. They're very good for alleviating the problems, some troublesome symptoms, uncomfortable pain management, especially. Um, and quantum physics proves that your conscience can heal anything. No, it doesn't. It's just a buzzword that's going on right now that does describe a lot of evidence-based science that shows how much we are connected to our bodies. Um,
All
you
right.
know,
Here's another question for you. A strong mind cannot be hypnotized. Is that fact or a myth?
that is a myth. The people that say that they absolutely cannot be hypnotized, the type A personalities, engineers, and things, and I was one of those people actually at one point. I would have sworn that I could not be hypnotized until I realized throughout the experience that I'm one of the easiest people to hypnotize. And we all get hypnotized every day and we don't even realize it. If you have your TV on, every commercial, modern marketing, it's all a form of hypnosis. because you might not even be paying attention to the commercial, but then you're in the store and you see the product. Oh, that's the one they were talking about, and you buy it, forgetting even what you learned in the commercial. Just the trigger was there. Um,
Yeah.
your mind does have a strong influence on your body. So if certain situations make you sick to your stomach because of the stress, the panic effect, um, your mind can also say, okay, this is how I reacted when I was a child, but I'm an adult now. I don't have to do this like this way. I'm in control.
Right.
Um, so the relationship between the mind and body, it can be your best friend. It's not your enemy. Some people think, oh, my mind is just getting in the way all the time. Well, you can retrain your mind. How do you feel about that, Gloria?
Oh, definitely. Power of words. That's back to that what my daughter told me when somebody keeps trying to hand her drinks and she doesn't want to drink. So she just tells herself, I don't want it. Not that I can't have that. I can't have that.
Right.
It's fine.
I
You drink
can't
this
have
much,
it.
I
It's
can't.
kind of punitive. But when you're making the
Right.
conscious choice, I don't want it,
Yeah.
nobody's
I don't
controlling it.
want
It's
it.
empowering. The word
She's
no is a
changing the
word
way
that's
she
not
thinks.
used often enough.
Right. Right.
That should be one of the most common used terms we have. No, I think, when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Not the
Choose words
2-year-old version
wisely.
of no. But so Gloria, this is really great. You've been helping us explore the consciousness and the mind. Do you have any closing words for people? And can you tell people how to reach you uh, for
Well,
your
the
practice?
mind is neither powerless nor powerful. Consciousness can influence attention, stress, pain, behavior, and participation in care. So, what it does not grant unlimited control over biology, but it can be of assistance when used ethically, appropriately, and in partnership with necessary health care. Hypnosis can be a valuable way to direct attention and suggestion toward constructive tools and constructive goals. So they can reach me at 715-892-7500. I thank you so much for being on your show. It's been a
Well, thank
pleasure.
you for joining me today. It's been a pleasure. Um, you can learn more about the things that I talk about and practice on my YouTube channel at The Holistic Nurse with Peggy Smith. And I do answer comments and questions, or you can email me, notjusthypnosis@gmail.com. Please like and share this show to everybody. If you have any specific questions or show topics you'd like to see for either Gloria's platform or mine, feel free to reach out to us and we will do the research for you and share the knowledge. Everybody have a great week. Thank you very much for joining us today.
This has been The Holistic Nurse with host Peggy Smith. Tune in each week where you're encouraged to send in questions and receive private responses and suggestions if appropriate. Here's Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern.